Hi everyone, I'm PPE and welcome to the Presso Pro episodes. If you're new here and if you just found this video because this talks about miles, you're in the right place. In this video, we're gonna talk about Citibank PremierMiles card specifically, but this channel will talk about money management tips and tricks and personal finance altogether. So if you haven't done so yet, I highly suggest that you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell beside it so that you're notified for new videos. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. This video is all about the Citibank PremierMiles card. If you're a card holder, you know that there are a lot of perks for this card and you probably fell in love with the card just as much as I did. The Citibank PremierMiles card is arguably the best travel card in the Philippines with low conversion of 30 pesos to 1 Premier Mile, and that Premier Mile not ever expiring, and has a lot of redemption options for travel partners, even merchandise on their website, or even hotel bookings. It's truly one of the most flexible programs in a very thin pool of travel-related cards in the Philippines. However, around mid-October, the bank shared very troubling news for its cardholders where there's a major change in the rewards program. Change meaning a massive devaluation in the miles that all of us spent time, money, and effort trying to rack up for that dream vacation someday. While we are in the pandemic for 2020, most of us were not able to claim miles, so those miles are sitting in our Citibank PremierMiles cards, thinking that that set of miles or points are safely stuck there because these miles never expire. However, in the next few days, you have to take action if you don't want to lose up to a third of the value of the card. Today, if you're gonna convert a Premier Mile to an airline mile, that is a 1-to-1 conversion, so you don't lose any value when you change the Premier Miles to actual travel miles for redemption. However, on December 20th, the redemption rate changes to 1.6 Premier Mile to 1 airline loyalty mile. To illustrate, that's about a 33% reduction in value, which means your miles before will be converted into lower miles when they get transferred to your preferred airline. Now, I love the Citibank PremierMiles card because it had plenty of redemption opportunities even just from airlines alone. There's a wealth of different airlines including local carriers Cebu Pacific or my personal favorite Singapore Airlines. And you can technically choose which airline you're gonna redeem with depending on the travel you have planned for. So with a few weeks left, most people are left wondering, what do I do with these miles that I've been saving for a trip or a redemption sometime in the future? What's the choice that will give me the biggest bang for my buck? And with limited time left, I hope that the upload of this video gives you some value. We're gonna go through all the redemption opportunities that you have with the Citibank PremierMiles, and I'm gonna rank all of them for you so you don't have to do your own research, and wait until the end of the video for bonus tips on how you can maximize with the ongoing promos that are there until the end of the calendar year. If you find value in this video, I hope you destroy the like button below. It really helps the channel and also will help the algorithm suggest more similar videos to you. So let's go. Here are the 8 most common ways to redeem your hard-earned Citibank PremierMiles cards. Remember, currently, the spend rate to earn 1 Premier Mile is 30 pesos in your credit card. Meaning, for every 30 pesos spend, you get 1 Premier Mile. This conversion does not change. So it's gonna continue to be 30 pesos per Premier Mile. What will change will be the conversion of that Premier Mile to an airline mile. Let's start off with Select and Credit, which basically is an option for you to select certain transactions and apply your miles as payment for it. You can also see this sometimes in the form of the second type of redemption, which is instant rewards. So for everyone with this card, you will probably see that every time you swipe or charge something to the card, more or less you will receive a text message where it will say pay for this transaction with your points or miles. That's instant rewards. You get an SMS message, you click on the link, and then you automatically go to the website to actually pay for it using miles. For travel-related purchases, you also have the option to do direct bookings of flights or hotels or even sometimes package deals that they occasionally offer on the site. Right now, they also offered Apple products as an alternative for you if you want to buy Apple products with your miles. They also have the standard cash credit. So when you say cash credits, you can actually redeem peso credits into your credit card statement that will be deducted from your outstanding bill. So that's technically as good as cash. It's just managed through your statement of account whenever you redeem for it. You also have the standard options of annual fee waivers, which means every time you're booked the annual fee, you can actually use miles to pay for that. You also have the option similar to Apple products but with a more variety. You can book direct merchandise. So that could be like watches, travel gear, some home equipment. The list is very, very good. You can find that in the Citi Rewards website. But essentially, you're almost like buying something directly off the website, just paying for miles instead of actual money. And the last one, and probably the most common one, because of the nature of this card, is the points transfer to a loyalty program, particularly for an airline or for a hotel chain. In this case, the only hotel chain that you can claim miles for is the International Hotel Group, or IHG. Before we get into the ranking and like what are the tips and tricks that you can do in the next few weeks to maximize the miles that you've already aggregated, here are a few thoughts on how I was thinking about the ranking. Number one, I am assuming that since you have a Citibank PremierMiles card, that you are in it for the travel perks. Now that may mean that you may not travel in the near future because of the pandemic, but you're thinking about travel as the reward of all of the things that you've been doing with this card. The other one is I tried to find the most common way to compare all of these 8 redemption processes by assigning a centavo per mile value whenever you take a redemption option. What this means is, essentially, since you're paying for miles, what is the peso value of each mile depending on whichever decision you make on redemption? Yes, all of these are not standard. They tend to fluctuate, so there is some science behind ranking the best choices that you have. And lastly, while I have my own preferences in terms of ranking what I'm gonna do with the miles I have in this card, it's totally up to you because your priorities or what you want out of the miles may differ. And also, just make sure to do your own due diligence check, especially if you're booking travel perks, because these prices tend to fluctuate. So I did try to see a sample size of about 3 to 5 sample bookings in their website to find an average rate. But I think all of these centavo per mile numbers that you will see shortly are gonna be in the rough average that will help you decide the best value for your mile. So let's go. Starting off with rank 8. Rank 8, and probably this may be surprising for some, is actually buying direct merchandise on the site. I think the logic behind this is this card is a travel card. So if I were Citibank, I would actually prioritize travel perks because I would assume that people who get this card technically got it for the travel perks. So using the miles that you've earned from this card to buy merchandise seemingly is off from a nature of the card and what the true value of the card is. So it's no surprise that when you buy certain products direct off the Citi Rewards website, you're technically just converting about 10 cents to 25 cents per mile. I tried this with a few items with standard prices that you can see on screen. I tried it with the Diesel Mega Chief Gunmetal Watch, which came out to about only 10 centavos per mile, which is very, very bad conversion. I also tried doing it for the Garmin Forerunner 35 for everyone who's looking for maybe more of a fitness watch. This one came to about more of a 0.23 or 23 centavos per mile, but still really, really bad conversion. If you look and stay for until the end of the video, we're gonna easily get up to double the value of the miles if you choose another redemption option. Tied for rank 7th and 6th will be the select and credit or instant rewards kind of redemption. This means that you're essentially paying for one transaction with a set of miles that they will tell you at the point of sale. This is the method where you get an SMS after a transaction and you pay for that transaction using your miles so that you don't have to pay for it in cash in the next statement cycle. Now, the bad thing about this is in the website, you will actually see the conversion that it's only about 5 Premier Miles to 1 peso, which comes to about only 20 centavos per mile. So if you think about it, it's easy, it's very transaction based, you can do it immediately, that's the good part. But with that convenience, you're also paying for a much lower valuation of miles. And again, the nature of the card is travel, so these daily transactions may seem like a good perk, but essentially if I were Citibank again, I wouldn't put my very good deals on these kinds of transactions. Rank number 5 is the annual fee waiver. So in this case, for the PremierMiles card, for a principal card holder, you're gonna pay 5,000 pesos per year. And there are ways to get this voided or waived depending on your transactions with the bank or depending on promos that are ongoing. To me, generally, annual fee waivers are not good use of points or miles for any card, but I ranked it 5th because just from a total value perspective, the value of converting your miles to annual fee waivers is actually at about 27 centavos per mile, beating all of the others before. Now we're getting to the good parts. Rank number 4th may be surprising to some, and this is actually the redemption involving Apple products directly from the Citi Rewards website. Yes, as good as it sounds that you can pay for miles to buy maybe an AirPods or even a new iPad Air, sometimes all of these conveniences sort of take up some value in terms of redemption. So I did a check. If you bought an iPad Pro 11-inch, the base unit without the cellular connection, you're gonna pay about 47,990 at the Apple Store. Now, convert that into the number of miles that you need, which is 151,900 miles. That comes to only an effective rate of about 32 centavos per mile, which is decent, but probably across the industry, it's average. But for this card, you deserve better. You can maximize in other options and wait until the end of the video where I will actually share with you some tips for you to still be able to get that Apple product that you wanted, but not going through this option. Now we're going to podium finish territory. Rank 3rd is actually the good old cash credits. And this means that when you go into the Citi Rewards website, you're gonna select on cash credits. You can redeem for as low as 500 peso value for 1,500 miles, which is a 3:1 conversion. So 3 Premier Miles equals 1 peso. You can claim all the way to 5,000 in a single transaction, but obviously you can keep on redeeming if you have more miles so that you get more value out of it. The good thing I like about cash credits and why I ranked it over the Apple product option, even if it was only like 1 cent difference from a valuation standpoint, is because in cash credits, it's technically as good as cash, as the name suggests. So with Apple products, probably the cheapest thing you can buy at the Apple store is maybe a case or an extra cord or even an Apple Pencil, if you will, if you don't have the sufficient miles, because you cannot pay for it partially using miles and cash. You have to have sufficient miles to pay for the entire Apple product. Now, if you go the cash credit route, you're actually able to just redeem whatever you can afford, and at least you can offset a portion of that. This yields to a decent 33 centavos per mile, which is industry average. There's nothing wrong with that rate, if not for new hacks that can actually get you a bit further if you now stay tuned for the next one. So, if you were keeping track of the 8 ways to redeem, the top 2 items are not surprisingly travel related, because at the end of the day, the Citi PremierMiles card is a mileage or a travel card. So on rank number 2, I would have to say, to get more value, you can actually do a direct booking of a flight or a hotel using the Citi Rewards website, and you're able to get an average of about 35 centavos to 47 centavos per mile, which is very good conversion, which made, in my opinion, the Citi PremierMiles card one of the best in the industry anyway. Now, I tried booking a hotel stay at the Holiday Inn and Suites in Makati for a night, a random night, got the rates there. If you convert one stay for 2 people at the Holiday Inn right in the middle of Greenbelt, you're actually able to pay for that for about a little over 5,000 pesos. If you claim miles, you're gonna pay about 15,000 pesos for the whole one night stay, which yields about 35 centavos per mile valuation. Again, very good. You can book it directly on the Citi Rewards website. You don't even have to go through multiple websites to redeem. On the flight front, I tried booking a one-way economy fare from Manila to Singapore. In this case, it yielded Malaysia Airlines. As a result, I'm probably thinking it's because of all of the travel restrictions and airline alignments. But generally, across all flights, you're gonna get somewhere around 47 centavos value for every mile that you redeem, which is very, very good. Now we're in about 50 cents territory. It's very good. It's one of the best conversion rates in the market today. So if you are trying to book a flight immediately or in the next few months and you don't want to go through redeeming loyalty points with an airline, you just want it booked, done, you have the itinerary right after, this is actually an excellent value option. You can definitely look into it. You can look into available flights. Just try to be as flexible as you can because there are limited flights, especially now with travel restrictions in place. Okay, so we're at the moment you've all been waiting for. The best way to maximize your miles, and if you've been keeping track, is actually to do a points transfer from your PremierMiles to a loyalty program, which I believe makes sense because I feel that this card was built with this one feature in mind. If you look at all of the marketing, this is really where the messaging was hammering through, which is why this devaluation is a major hurt to this card's credibility and viability moving forward. Now, before I go into the specifics of the points transfer, most of you are also thinking, should I stick with my Citi PremierMiles card even after the devaluation, or are there other cards that I can try to apply for and get better rates? If you want to talk about that conversation, please leave comments in the comment section down below so that I know if you're interested. We can probably make another video. I'm in the process of doing a comparison against all credit cards in the Philippines with miles perks. We can talk about that so that if you want to leave the devalued miles of your Citi PremierMiles, there are options for you where you can get better value. If you're interested in that video, again, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you're notified when we upload new videos, and who knows, that may be the next one we upload. So I kept you waiting long enough. Points transfer is the best way to maximize your miles for the value of what they have until December 20th. But there's a caveat. In points transfer, you're actually dealing with a whole new menu of different things to transfer to. So in this section in the video, and if I still have you, thank you for staying all the way to the end. I promise it's gonna be worth it. So in points transfer, you actually have multiple airline partners that you can transfer your PremierMiles to. Now, all of those airline partners will have their own set of rules that will differently impact the value of your mile. Now, in this case, I could not go through all of the airline partners to be able to find the best among all possible options. So I hope you do your research before you actually jump in. But with the assumption that you guys have your own preferred airlines, so like me, I probably have 3 at the top of my list. So I would have Cebu Pacific for local flights after they axed Philippine Airlines from the list. I have Krisflyer, which is the Singapore Airlines program, which is my favorite airline. And also I have Emirates just for Middle East trips because they have good connecting direct flights into the UAE. So in this section, we're gonna compare points transfers to those 3 airline partners. And I'm gonna share with you the value of each point based on what I researched in the last few days. For this comparison, let's talk about the math of a mile. The way you do conversions of miles into peso value so that you get the least common denominator and you can compare apples to apples, all the choices that you have. The formula is fairly quite simple. However, just make sure that you also factor in that there may be seasonal promos or sales that will affect the valuation of these miles. So to work out the math of a mile, you have to take the total cost that you would pay for that mile in cash. So you can do this by going through their booking websites, do the whole process by trying to book a dummy flight. Just remember that you take note of all of the things that you're adding, like extra baggage, preferred seat, or meals to your flight. If the flight is not full service, so that you make sure that you add in all of the cost to the total cost and you factor all of those in. At the end of that step, you will be able to get the peso value of that flight. Now, what you will need to do then is to go to your airline partner. So in this case, it can be Krisflyer or Cebu Pacific, where you get to their GetGo website. Try to do a booking of a redemption flight. In most cases, it will yield to two numbers that you will have to remember. One is the number of miles that are required for that specific flight. Second is the payment that you still need to pay in cash, and this is more often than not paying for taxes or fuel surcharges depending on the policy of your airline. Just for fun, I also included IHG Rewards Club because that's the only hotel option, so that at least we can evaluate if you were choosing to book hotels instead of flights because you're not able to travel elsewhere. What you see on screen essentially are the average rates that I was able to get by doing this iterative process across these four suppliers. And as you can see, GetGo and IHG roughly averages out to about 35 centavos per mile. Again, industry average, nothing wrong with that. If you are the type that uses these services, and if you have loyalty programs with them, it's still a good consideration that you have to take into account when you're finally deciding what to do with your miles. I tried doing the Emirates approach though, and what was the big aha for me is that while Emirates has very decent mile redemption rates, the fuel surcharges end up making the value of your miles much less. This is because even when you redeem for a number of miles, you still pay a hefty amount of cash because they tack on taxes and surcharges. I'm not sure if this is because they land in the Dubai airport and there's just much more taxes there. But the truth of the matter is, if you book an Emirates flight out of the Philippines, you will definitely land in Dubai because that's their next hub outside of the Philippines. So there's no skirting this. And what I learned is the value of a mile, if you book an Emirates Skywards redemption, is only about 19 centavos, which is very, very bad. So I would say, if you wanted to go to Dubai or any destination that is served by Emirates, try to figure out another airline that probably can serve that route. In this case, Cebu Pacific has routes to the UAE, and Singapore Airlines, which is our winner in the video, also serves Dubai with a layover in Singapore. So, as I alluded to, the winner of the points transfer comparison is actually Singapore Airlines Krisflyer miles, which equated to about 54 centavos per mile valuation, and this is helped largely because Singapore Airlines does not tack on fuel surcharges as a policy. I'm not sure if that's a Singapore government incentive again for you to choose their airline, but that's the truth of the matter, so might as well take advantage of that. And also, they have saver fares that if you have flexible travel schedules, this can be up to as low as 50% of their advantage fares, which is like the regular mileage redemption. If you go to the Krisflyer website, you'll be able to see the saver option when you redeem your miles. So that's it. Krisflyer Miles is the best way to maximize the value of your hard-earned Premier Miles over the next few weeks. But wait, there's more. Even in today's world where travel is almost non-existent, Krisflyer actually has an ongoing promotion on specific to bank miles or bank points redemptions into Krisflyer. I don't know specifically why they're doing this now when people cannot travel. My hunch is that they want people to actually consider them as a way where people will bank all of their miles, so that when all of the travel restrictions are lifted or we get back into some sort of normal, you would have a lot of miles with them and end up spending those miles for new flights in the future. Now, Krisflyer has a decent 3-year expiration range for their miles. During the pandemic, they actually extended the expiration date of the miles. So I feel that as an airline, they're fairly committed to their members, and you get impeccable service from Singapore Airlines from start to finish with all of my flights with them in the past. So I feel confident banking even all of my miles with them just because of the major value added on by this promotion, where if you convert your bank miles, including the Citibank PremierMiles, from now until December 30th, but obviously don't wait beyond December 20, you're gonna get an extra 15% on the miles that you're converting, as long as you're converting a minimum of 10,000 miles per transaction. That was a bit much, so let me repeat. Every time you redeem with a minimum redemption of 10,000 miles, you get a 15% bonus. So say you redeemed 10,000 Premier Miles over to Krisflyer, you're actually gonna get 11,500 miles in your Krisflyer account. You have the full FAQs on their website, which I will link to in the description box below. You can check all of the details there. But essentially, this is a game changer because now in the era of devaluation of miles and everything, you're actually making sure that you banked all of your Premier Miles before, putting it into a very reliable airline with a 15% bonus, which takes your 54 centavo valuation per mile to 63 centavo per mile valuation, which is mind-blowing. I have not seen anything like this even in the past. So this is a great way, since you're about to make a major decision on your miles, you can bank in all of those miles into Krisflyer, have 3 years to be able to redeem the flight of your dreams, and take advantage of this ongoing promotion that they have. Okay, that was a bit long. I hope you were able to get the details, but in summary, I think there are 3 best ways to maximize the remaining time that you have with the miles that you were able to earn before. And I would categorize that into 3 big categories. Number 1, I'm assuming that you're here for the travel perks, but if you need immediate booking and in flights or hotels, moving it into a loyalty program may not work because that's subject to other terms and conditions. So if you just want it done and booked, the best way for you to do it is to actually just book. You will get about 35 to 47 centavo per mile conversion, which is very reasonable. It's at or above industry average, so you're gonna get good value altogether. If you're in it for the long haul like me, I don't have any travel plans in the next few months, the best way for me and for similar cases is to bank this into travel miles with a preferred airline or a preferred hotel partner. And in this case, the best airline partner that was able to identify is Singapore Airlines Krisflyer Miles, which with their ongoing 15% promotion is going to get your miles to a value of 63 centavos per mile, which is almost double of the other option. Now, if you're not planning any travel anytime soon and you feel that in the next 3 to 5 years you probably won't be able to maximize and you want to do non-travel redemption, the best way to do this is to go through the cash credit option, where you can click on cash credits. The only thing here is that when you click on cash credits, all of these will reflect in the next statement of account. So just make sure that you purchase the items quite soon. They will be deposited into your account. Essentially, it will look like a payment so that it will reduce the total balance that you have with the card. Now, the good part here is that you have flexibility on the number of miles that you can convert without having to actually pay in full for an item. And yes, this applies even to Apple products, because as I promised, for Apple products, booking Apple products directly in the Citi Rewards website is not the best way to redeem, because you're technically paying for full value for the Apple product, whereas we all know of stores like Kim Store or similar institutions who typically give about a 5 to 10% discount on Apple products on a regular promotion cycle, maybe even in 12/12. So if you do that, you're actually taking advantage of the good conversion of the cash credits, but you can buy your Apple product for maybe a bit less, which improves the centavo per mile computation for your miles. If you are still with me, thank you for weathering through this long video. It's a very important post, especially for those who want to do credit card hacking or churning. If you are into these kinds of topics, you can probably feel the enthusiasm and passion I have on the topic. I plan to share more tips and tricks over the next couple of weeks on how to maximize points and miles, what are the cards currently on offer. So I do hope you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you're notified. Please comment in the comment box below on questions you still may have. If you want to do a demo video on how to actually do redemptions, or if you have specific questions on any other cards, I'll try my best to answer. Or if that has enough interest, maybe we do another video for it so that everyone can benefit. Again, I thank you very much for supporting this video. I hope this has helped you cut through all of the marketing noise and all of the confusion and even the time crunch, time stress that you are in on trying to figure out all of this. I hope this added value to you today. If it did, and if you think it can help a friend, please share the video to your networks and please ask them to subscribe to the Peso Pro, and I'll see you again on the next one.